Yes.
Do you have any tips for aspiring writers?
Do I have any tips for aspiring writers?
Yes.
I do. Yeah. GYAIC. Get your ass in the chair. Sit down.
Well,
turn off the cell. It does. Definitely. Turn off. I'm being playful, but I'm also being serious. I think people romanticize the writing life. You know. By the way, what's your first name?
Harley.
Harley. I think people romanticize the writing life. They think it's something special, and really, it's a lot of time alone in a chair with a pen or a computer, dealing with your own mind or your own imagination, not knowing if what you have inside you is valuable or not, if what you have inside you will turn into something that's going to work on paper or not. So you have to be courageous and spend time with yourself without any guarantee that the result will be good, you know, that other people will praise you for it. But the most important thing, of course, if you want to write, is to write, and to write more. And the second most important thing is to read. And I guess the third most important thing is to rewrite, like the Dickens, and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite until your initial work starts to lift off the page and persuade you, at least, that it has some energy and some vitality and some credibility. So spending a lot of time alone is what writers do, and it's not very romantic and it can be very lonely. But that's really what you have to do if you want to write, is to write a lot. And if you know you're interested in a certain thing, say you want to write sci-fi, then you should be reading a lot of science fiction. If you want to write short stories, you should be reading all of Alice Munro and everybody else, you know, who's producing short stories. You should read a lot in the area of writing that interests you, so you know what other people are doing. People today, as well as people 100 years ago, and people in other countries, too. So reading and writing are what writers do. And also, find a job. Because you're not likely to be able to live off your writing. Well, it's true. You're not. And so you're going to have to find another way to live until either you get it lucky or you never get it lucky. Most writers and most artists, you know, have to have other kinds of work. They can't just write because it won't sustain them. Yes?
Having read Dreams from My Father and Udacity of Hope, you gain a lot of insight to a young man's perspective growing up in America as a mulatto. I was wondering, yourself as a black historian, your thoughts on the 44th President's election.
I mean, I'm glad I got the health care package passed. It's sad to see how divisive American politics have become so fast. I mean, people are shooting bullets through the windows of Democrats right now, Democrats who are actively involved in passing the health care package. Not a single Republican voted for that health care bill. Not a single Republican voted for it. So politics are as divisive now, really, as they were before Obama's election. And I guess we were all hoping that he would unite America, and we see that that's a very ungainly beast and a very difficult, maybe impossible thing to unite people of all backgrounds in this country. Of course, I was thrilled to see Obama be elected. It's a symbolic victory. I'm thrilled by the symbolism of it, but many people, myself included, 5 years ago, would never have believed this possible. So I was delighted that he was elected president, and I wish him the best. But his being elected president doesn't necessarily change the socio-demographic, reality of being poor or being black or being disenfranchised in one way or another in the United States. And so it's going to require a sea shift, a sea change in American politics to turn around domestic or foreign policy. So I'm cautiously watching and hoping that things improve. But I don't think that his election is a guarantee of anything. But it's a wonderful, wonderful act of symbolism, at the very least. Right behind you, there was a question. Yes?
How did your work in journalism help you with your writing?
Thank you. That's a great question. How did my work in journalism help me with my writing? It helped a lot, but only for a short time. And I think there's a question of diminishing returns for me in terms of helping me as a novelist. I loved journalism. I loved being a reporter. I worked really hard on it. It was my first job at university. I got a job with the Globe and Mail for the summer, and then they fired all the summer students because the economy was collapsing. and I got a job after that with the Winnipeg Free Press, which became my first full-time job out of university. And I can't think of a better way to discover a city than to be a general assignment reporter. You know, every day you're thrown into covering a fire or a debate or a political, a civic election, a municipal election, or some big issue that's sweeping the city or the province. I loved Manitoba and Winnipeg and came to know the city, I think, better than I knew Toronto, and I grew up in Toronto. And I knew it better after 2 years, because every day I was meeting people, entering buildings, meeting people in organizations, and getting involved with the city. I learned not to treat my work as sacrosanct. You know, you cannot survive in a newsroom if you think you're hot stuff and nobody better touch your stuff. Nobody better touch what you've written. They rip it to shreds every day, reconstitute it, and you might not even recognize what you wrote the next day in the newspaper. It's true. You might not, and often you might not. And if you think that your work is inviolable, you'll never survive in a newsroom. And so your stuff is ripped to shreds all the time, and you have to learn to work with people who don't like what you do and who want to change it. And that's an important lesson for a novelist, because you have to learn to rewrite. Also, I learned to write fast. And writing fast, for me, has been a ticket to writing convincingly. You know, writing fast is the way that I've slipped into writing prose that feels more natural and more believable and more playful and more humorous by writing fast, and then coming back and rewriting. So the disciplines of rewriting, writing fast, not looking at your stuff as sacrosanct, those were fabulous lessons to learn, but you can learn them all in 2 years, and after that I got out and started writing fiction, some of which I did as a journalist. Are we done? Sorry,
Sorry, I know this went very quickly. I want to thank you all for coming, and want to remind you that this is our 35th year, the Letters and Arts Society. When you get a chance, please go and look at our portrait gallery in the library. You'll see some of the fabulous guests that we've had, but certainly one of our most outstanding has been Lawrence Hill. Thank you so much, Mr. Hill.